Welcome back to the programme. There's speculation over the CIA and FBI being at odds with each other following the presidential campaign in the US. This comes from one of the most prominent whistleblowers, a former CIA analyst. John Kiriakou was the first official who publicly admitted waterboarding took place in America. He's our guest on Watching the Hawks today, and this is a quick preview.
John, when I look at the 2016 elections, like I said, to a lot of the American public, they really got the impression, I think, that okay, it seems like the CIA is kind of leaning more towards Hillary, and it seems like the FBI is leaning more towards Trump. So I ask you, and we said that, as Mark was saying, and you agreed that, the CIA is kind of more under the directive of the administration than is the FBI. How has D.C. politics influenced and like that kind of partisanship influenced the CIA in the time, in what you've seen over the years?
This is the most partisan and most political that I've ever seen the CIA. I remember when I first joined the CIA, January of 1990, no one ever talked about politics. I had no idea the political leanings of the person sitting next to me. It was 3 years before I realized that I wasn't the only Democrat, for example, in my small group of colleagues. That's changed, especially at the top levels of the CIA. It's much more political, it's much more partisan, and CIA leaders are much more willing now to take a political stand, to actually pick a candidate, than they ever have been in the past.
That's interesting.
Protests have shut down the center of Brazil's Rio de Janeiro as police clashed with demonstrators angered by a proposal to privatize the city's state-owned water company. The protest began outside the state legislative building where lawmakers discussed the bill. Clashes began when masked protesters began throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails at police officers. The authorities used stun grenades and tear gas in response. Reports say the local governor had agreed to sell off state utilities to repay debts to the federal government. British media has been reporting on the Royal Air Force intercepting a Russian jet circling near the UK last night. But an RAF spokesperson said the plane didn't enter British or Irish airspace. RT's Sophie Shevardnadze has spoken to the Russian ambassador to the UK, Alexander Yakovenko, about his take on Russia-UK relations and meddling in foreign affairs. You can see the whole interview here on RT International throughout the day. Here's a quick teaser for you now.
United Kingdom is basically trying to deter Russia. This is first. But on the other hand, they are interested to talk to Russia on certain issues which are very important for Britain. So basically, it's sort of this sitting on the two chairs. I explained Foreign Secretary that it's not so easy to do this. We would prefer the political dialogue, right one, and to discuss mutually interested subjects and to develop cooperation. It looks like that Britain is not ready for that yet. The country is divided. Half of the country believe that they have to go along with the Brexit. The other half is opposing that. For most of the people of Britain, the globalization wasn't a success. If you just go outside London, you will find that many people are suffering from the low salaries, from the low standards of the social security. They want changes. And that's why, in this situation, the politicians in Britain, they have to divert the attention of the public. And Russia is a very convenient tool just to use as some kind of a very important symbol, but that could divert the attention of the people. The British blamed us, Russia, that we are one way or another way involved in the American elections. But it's exactly the case with the British, because if you look at the most official statements before the elections, you will find that the British officials supported the one candidate in the United States, that was Hillary Clinton, and this is a clear interference into the internal election processes in the United States.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has touched down in Washington to meet Donald Trump at the White House, and the leaders will then fly to Trump's private resort in Florida. They're expected to iron out their differences over a game of golf, and President Trump may not have an easy ride. Tokyo is still waiting for an apology for the US dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II. Another is America's military presence on the Japanese island of Okinawa, which has been marred by scandals of sexual abuse. Team Trump also scrapped the Trans-Pacific Partnership deal, which Japan hoped to push through. So, a lot to cover, especially given some of the things Trump said about Japan before taking office.
Billions and billions of dollars are being spent on getting oil for Japan, and they're not paying anything for it. Japan should certainly make a contribution.
We let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. They are beating the hell out of this country. If you look at what certain countries are doing to this country, such as Japan, I mean, they've totally taken advantage of the country.
Are these the trade deficits we hear about?
I'm talking about the deficits. They come in, they talk about free trade, they dump the cars and the VCRs and everything. We have the money. The fact is that the world is ripping off this country. Japan for years, I mean, we're like a whipping post for Japan. And as far as Japan is concerned, we cannot protect countries all over the world where they're not paying us.